Let's go to that poll. It's the Redbridge poll. And this shows that since December, there's been combined support for the Libs and the Nationals has fallen from 26% to now 19%. 17 for the Libs, 2 for the Nats. We'll combine that for the purposes of this conversation. One Nation, though, has had an upward trend increase, 9% boost from December to today's record high of 26%. Joining me now, the man who pulled the poll together, Redbridge Group Director, pollster Cos Samaras. Cos, thank you. Let's get into some of this detail. I'm keen to know, and no poll's ever uniform, as you and I know, but how are these results playing out state by state? And when you're speaking with voters, when you're talking to people out there, what are the primary issues that are driving their vote choice?
Yeah, if we want to sum up the mood of the country, is that most voters are sick to death of the two-party system. Now, for the Conservative side, they've got an option. They've got an outlay to express their frustration and actually probably in a permanent way move away from that two-party system, and it's One Nation. So it's most profound in Queensland. There is strong support for One Nation in New South Wales, and I wouldn't rule out the same applying in Victoria. So it's the three big states where we're seeing a lot of movement going on. Now, the flip side, on the left side of politics, is that frustration is there, but they just don't think the Greens are the option. But they're not prepared to vote Conservative. So we're dealing with a very unhappy country at the moment.
When you look at some of the demographics, what struck me the most in the poll was basically how angry my generation, Gen X, are.
Yeah.
You know, coming out, still probably got a mortgage, perhaps still got kids in the education system in some way. No, they'll never get a pension. No, their super's probably not going to cover things, but they're not in the position of the boomers are, where they've had this massive increase in, say, their housing stock as they've gone along, and they don't have the old superannuation pools sitting there, and probably have gone through divorce where their incomes have been halved and somewhere along the line they've had to start again. I thought that was really interesting, and that used to be the mainstay population group, you know, that age group once you hit sort of 45 and beyond, where the Liberal Party would redress some of the numbers they used to lose with younger people. What else struck you in that generational split?
Yeah, look, it's as you've said, it's Generation X. The support for the coalition within Gen X, which is my generation as well, is abysmal. It is single digits for the Liberal Party on its own. It barely breaks double digits. One Nation is the largest party for Gen X in this country right now. It's 35%.
Yeah.
And
so they're conservative. You know, they're still conservative, Cos. They haven't flipped. They're still following that old track that you and I have known for many decades.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't want the Libs, don't want a bar of them.
But it's classic Gen X too, right? So they are anti-establishment to a certain extent. And so their response to this is most of them are non-university educated, working class conservatives. They're the sort of voters we see flock into Reform, to Trump, to other conservative parties in Europe. They have lived a life where they've worked long hours, they've worked hard, and they've experienced a substantial decline in living standards, particularly in their 40s. But they were also in their 30s and 40s, so in their 30s, Howard's battlers. I mean, they were the group that voted for Howard in significant numbers in key seats. They're now gone, and we find these individuals are the most. The term I'll use is they are One Nation's Praetorian Guard. They are absolutely determined to send a signal to Canberra.
I want to ask you too about immigration, because this is where obviously Hanson has a long and consistent history. 34% of those polled said they best trust One Nation to handle the issue. Labor 16, the Coalition 17. I mean, the Coalition who stopped the boats under Howard, under Abbott, can't believe they're down to 17%. A lot of people might say, you know, I don't like Pauline and I don't agree with everything she's got to say, but they know where they stand on this issue. And she says not just that the numbers are too high, she also says the people who we are bringing here are the wrong people if they don't share our values, meaning this issue is now as much about culture as it is about economics.
Yeah, look, and it's cutting through particular groups within Gen X. Let's go back to that generation that most people in the media and the political commentary wouldn't expect, and that is second generation migrants. Within my social circle, Greek migrant parents, we were all born here. Most of the people I see that I grew up with are voting for Pauline Hanson, and immigration's one of them, and they're Greek or they're Italian or they're Croatian.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an issue, and I think it's as you rightly point out, it's about culture, it's about identity, and even that identity is also threatened for them. So it's not only just about their economic situation; they feel threatened by many things that are changing in their lives, and they're not happy. They're really it's an incredibly unhappy cohort.
A cockahoo Prime Minister, and rightly so, 93 seats in the Parliament, has a pretty high unfavourability, and Hanson actually is ahead 4 points on the Prime Minister in terms of most popular leader. I have to say, the Libs, I don't think anyone's over about 16%. That's Andrew Hastie. Susan's 10. Her unfavourability is huge. But, the Prime Minister likes to think he's Teflon coated. You make the point, his people don't have anyone else to vote for yet, but he's not loved out there.
No, we like to label that particular part of our poll as the race to the bottom. Who's the least unpopular, and that's really the contest here. And Australians generally don't like their politicians at the moment, and it's been a long time since they have. And I think it's increasingly now become evident. They've had the pandemic, the inflationary crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They thought it was over, and it's back again. And which group is getting absolutely slammed to the deck? It's Gen X. So they've got adult children that are struggling in life with housing. They have aged parents who are going through aged care or are reaching that stage in their life. And they're having to not only balance the needs of those two parts of their family, but themselves as well. They're still sitting on massive mortgages. They're not going to pay them off well into their 60s. So it's a pretty grim proposition for the coalition to try to win these people back, because I don't see any evidence they can.
Well, my only hope is Gen X, we're the last generation, you and I, that had a decent education system. We can't be bought off with HECS debt funding, and we can't be sold a pup on social media. So hopefully that good education system means that when they put out their numbers and they've got their tax policies and they're talking about the budget, we can all add up and we'll hold both sides to account. I'll leave it there. Thank you. Thank you, Cos. Gosh, it's terrible reading, isn't it, that poll? Well, bad for Labor too. A lot of other people won't be telling you that, won't pull out those numbers like we have, but yes, it's bad for them.